Hello and welcome to Brocky Mountain Movies. I'm your host, Rocky Mountain Brock, and today we talk about Jason Statham in Wrath of Man, directed by Guy Ritchie. Now, the first thing you're going to notice when you watch this movie is that it's very ambitious and stylized, at least at first. For one, it tries to follow this four-act structure where it tells three separate stories and brings them all together in the fourth, each of them having their own ironic title. And in the beginning, it starts out with this James Bond style opening, but the opening highly contrasts with the rest of the film because the rest of the film opts for gritty realism. Outside of the main hero, the bullets hurt. And going back, the hero's not the right word, outside of the protagonist, because an accurate summation of this film is there are no heroes. This is just about a guy going after the guy who killed his son. And for a film with a very simple, straightforward premise, it gets tangled up in a lot of unnecessary side plots. Like, the first is introduce the protagonist, the second, his backstory, the third, who the antagonist is, and the fourth is the final showdown. But here's the problem. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that could very easily be cut out. Not from a stylistic standpoint, but from a story perspective. Because the first act ends with him interrogating one of the people he works with. Because he kind of figures the person who killed his son, who was also partaking in an armed robbery at the time, most likely has an inside man, and he's going to go from there. Problem is, the protagonist is by no means a good person himself. He's styled as some sort of crime lord, and the second act is him trying to find whoever killed his son, why he and his son were there in the first place, and him searching all the wrong leads. This film has a lot of storylines, and they do not really mesh together the way they need to. The first one ends in one direction that the movie never goes in again. The second is a lot of unnecessary backstory. The third is setting up the antagonist, but that's when you realize the film's setting up its big finale, and none of the other storylines are headed towards it. It's sort of just coming anyway. You have all these storylines and all these characters. The movie boils down to simply the protagonist taking his revenge out on the antagonist. The best and worst part of this movie is the finale itself. What works in the finale is a lot of chaos, gunfire, character moments. The finale has this nice feel of intensity, chaos, and people trying to react to what's going on. However, the worst part is that there's this weird diverge. Like, the movie wrote this one ending first and set up the finale, but the finale does not go into this ending that you wrote. It kind of goes off in this different direction. The other worst part is that it's a bit of false advertising. It does have its gritty realism. There isn't a lot of action, and it's being advertised as an overall action film. But there are these long stretches where there is no action. When the overall intensity and style work, it's an ultimately alright movie. Maybe a little too ambitious for its own good, but I'd take an overly ambitious film over one that's not trying any day of the week. Final score for Wrath of Man, 6.5 and a thumbs up. I'm Rocky Mountain Brock, and God bless.